You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Today is Friday, and it's good to be here with you again. Today, we've got another special show for you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today, Mr. Rodney Foxworth, the co-chair of the renaming committee of the Lamont Riggs Lillian J. Huff Library. And he has on with him the grandson of Mrs. Lillian J. Huff, James Lyon. We're going to also be talking to Ward 5 committee woman, Hazel Thomas. Hazel, are you there? I want to say hi to you first.
Hi, Lyndia. I am. How are you? And thanks for having us.
Yes, Hazel. And we have committee woman. Hazel, are you there? I didn't hear you.
I am here. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Wonderful. All right, well, ladies, we're gonna go on today to hear from Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Dr. Julianne Malveaux is a nationally known economist, dean at Cal State Los Angeles. She's one of two president emeritus at Bennett College in North Carolina. She has her PhD in economics. She's a world traveler, speaker, and she's the president of Push Excel, the youth organization founded by the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson of Chicago, Illinois. Let's go to her now and hear what's going on in politics and economics. Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Dr. Julianne, you there? We don't hear Dr. Julianne. I guess we have to talk to the Lamont Riggs people first while we get Dr. Julianne on. Rodney, are you there?
Yes, I am, and thank you for having us.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk until she lets me know Dr. Julianne is available.
Sure.
Are you there?
I'm also here.
Okay.
Can you hear me? This is Hazel.
Yes, I can hear both of you. I was just checking to see if Dr. Julianne is ready. Yeah.
I'm here. Lyndia, I'm here.
Right. Okay, good. Wonderful. Let's talk to Dr. Julianne Malveaux first. Let's talk politics and about the economy, Dr. Julianne.
Well, this is a great week. Well, not great, but it's an interesting week to talk about the economy. The good news, inflation is going up less than it was last month or the month before. So people are getting a handle on inflation, and that's very, very good news. The bad news, Silicon Valley Bank failed. It was the 16th largest bank in the United States because of its own shoddy business practices and because it made some bad bets. The bank went under. The Fed took it over, and they had frozen deposits. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation only insures up to your first $250,000 in deposits. Of course, most of us don't have $250,000 to reflect on, but just saying. But it only covers your first $250,000. But now President Biden has said it'll cover everything so that nobody loses their money. And they're tying this to a number of things. They say that the Fed stepped in for any number of reasons, but there are these people who are saying, well, the reason why this bank failed and why the Fed stepped in is because everyone's too woke. I know y'all have heard this argument. If you haven't, don't pay me any mind because it was a stupid argument. But it made major newspapers. It made the Wall Street Journal, Forbes magazine, Bloomberg talked about it. was the bank too woke? What they really meant was it too diverse? And the 12-member board had one black person, one gay person, and some women, hardly too woke. Anyway, I probably spent a little too much time on that, but I want people to be aware that the right is throwing the word woke at us like it's a volleyball, and we're supposed to all sort of say, ooh, we don't like being woke. Well, the alternative to being woke is being sleep, and we have to deal with that as well. Moving on, it's a possibility that women who have abortions will go to jail. This has been floated in 3 states. Incarceration for abortion. This is not going to happen today. But, we never thought that Roe would be pushed back. I think the reason the folks who are not, quote, woke, or the people who are not active enough are those who care about some of these things being ignored and just aren't getting it. But let's just look at this whole issue of you're going to have people go to jail because they had an abortion. The other thing that's worth talking about is Los Angeles. Not just because I live there, but because the school teachers in Los Angeles are going on strike on Tuesday, and some accommodations are not made. The average teacher in L.A. earns about $69,000 a year, which is not a lot. But the people who work in the cafeteria, who drive with young people, they make about $25,000 a year. That's literally nothing. Now, someone will say, well, some of them are part-time. But anyway, the LAFUSD strike is interesting for teachers all over the country. This will be the largest strike that's happened in about 15 years. So let's just pay attention to it, because there are teachers who are thinking the same way. There are school employees who are thinking the same way. And what happens after COVID if teachers decide to go out? The LA strike is only supposed to be for 3 days, but who knows? And even 3 days can be disruptive for a mom who doesn't have anywhere to put her children while she's working. Those are my top stories. There's so many more, but I know that I've gone over time. So I'm going to one more quick thing, though. China is going to Russia.
Go ahead.
No, the president of China is planning to go to Russia, which is a slap in the face of the United States. We better wake up. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Julian. And I guess you must be on spring break because you're here in Washington, D.C. this week.
No, I just came to hang out for the weekend. I'll be back to spring break. Okay.
All right, then. Thank you for being our guest today, Dr. Julian Malvo. All right, we're going to go to a commercial break, and when we return, we will be talking to the Lamont Riggs, the renaming committee for the Lamont Riggs Library. It's being named now Lamont Riggs Lillian J. Huff Library. We're going to be talking to them when we come back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, Be inspired.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. And NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
And we are back. You're here listening to the Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB. So happy to have you all here with us today. We're going to be talking about the exciting library. It's a brand new library right here in Washington, D.C. in Ward 5. And I'm going to just go ahead and start talking to our chair of our committee, Rodney Foxworth. Rodney, could you open it up for us and kind of set the stage and make sure people know that they are invited and what's coming up, what's going on in case they cannot make it?
Absolutely. And again, thanks for allowing us to do this with you. As you know, I'm joined by Hazel Thomas, the Ward 5 committee woman, and she's also a member of the committee, and Jay Lyon. Jay is Mrs. Huff's, one of us, Mrs. Huff's grandson, so he's on the line as well. So in terms of setting the table, we've got a pretty big renaming ceremony planned for the new Lamont Riggs / Lillian J. Huff Library. It's been close to 15 years in the making. Many of your listeners know that Mrs. Huff spent about 20 years to lobby Congress to get money before there was a D.C. government to actually build the first Lamont Riggs Library. And then after the D.C. government came into existence, she lobbied another 13 years to get money to set aside to actually rebuild a new library. And those funds were used to build a library that's standing pretty nice and pretty tall in our community. So there's the renaming ceremony is at 1:30 tomorrow. And we've got a lot of we got a lot of speakers lined up. And then by maybe 2:30, the reception will begin, and we'll have folks that will kind of talk about Mrs. Huff so that people will get to know the person beyond the bricks and mortar who was responsible for building both libraries.
All right. Let's go to the committee woman, the Ward 5 committee woman, Hazel Thomas. Why don't you give us your opening statement today?
Thank you very much, Lyndia. It's my pleasure to be with you this evening. I, of course, knew Mrs. Huff, like so many people. She was my mentor. And, of course, she was a community activist, as Rodney said, before Home Rule and before the ANC structure was set up. And we're so very proud that she was a political powerhouse, both in Ward 5 in the District of Columbia, as well as with national political leaders. And she used her political clout, as Rodney has said, for over 20 years, from 1965 to 1983, with nearly 20 years, she lobbied, unpaid lobbying, I should say, because she was always a volunteer, and she lobbied and advocated for a library. The one thing that I did want to underscore is that Mrs. Huff saw the inequity, the injustice of having particularly children to have to go more than a mile to get to the nearest library, including her own daughter and son. And she felt that it wasn't fair, and she fought relentlessly to get the first library built, to get the funding and to have it built. And then once the new library became a little out of date,
then she fought for the current new library, which opened in July of 2022.
And I wanted to say what a great celebration that was. The mayor was there to cut the ribbon, and the place was jam-packed. It was filled with the excitement, and I was happy to be among the crowd. Let's hear from her grandson, James Huff. We call him Jay. Jay, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How's everybody doing? Thanks for having me.
Jay, we are just all so excited about this. Tell the folks what you think about this situation. You told us, but I want everybody to hear it.
Man, I'm just so ecstatic. Lost at words. Really, every day is a reminder about how strong of a woman she was. I mean, we're talking about a woman who she's my reason that I even dived into the arts. The filmmaking, the acting, a side that not a lot of many people know, but she was a drum major when she was in school way back in the day. She would take time out of her day to help anyone. I mean, we're talking about a woman who would not take no for an answer. I used to always ask her, "Oh, Granny, they said no, we have to go." This woman would talk and make sure that if it was no, she was going to have 4 or 5 valid reasons why they gave her a no. But hence the library came about, and we're talking about a library where at the time when I lived with her for a couple years, I didn't know that she was the main reason that the library was even there. I knew we had a library. It wasn't until my mother and she was telling me about her and my uncle, how they didn't have a neighborhood library. And like Miss Hazel had expressed a couple of seconds ago, they had to drive miles and miles just to go to the library, check out some books for book reports. So when I think about something of this magnitude, you know, of course it gets sentimental, but I feel that much more proud profoundly about the work that she put in, not only for the library, but for the city of Washington, D.C., a city I'm from. And it makes me feel that much more better. I can go and travel the world and tell people, you know, how she did it and what she had to do to get it done. From potato salad, fried apples, National Federation Democratic Women, Jimmy Carter campaign, Black caucuses, financial literacy for Democratic women. We're talking about a woman who she wouldn't stop until her goals were met. And I'm just so very proud of her. And, you know, I thank the committee for working so diligently and hard to get this done. And it doesn't stop yet. Hopefully we can get a street name or a couple different parks or something else named after her. But this is just a great surprise and present to the city and the neighborhood. Yes.
Hey, can I just pick up on something that Jay said?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So just a couple of things. And Jay, thanks for bringing out some of the other aspects of Mrs. Huff. And this talks about what Hazel said as well. You know, Mrs. Huff knew in the 60s when she started this effort, long before national studies confirmed, that kids who have a library in their communities or near their communities do better academically in school. Now, that's pretty powerful. She was also the first president of the Lamont Riggs Library Friends, and she would be only the third woman of the 26 D.C. public libraries to have a library named after her. That's quite an achievement. That's quite a record.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We are excited about it. Jay reminded me, too, of how I met her when I had my office on Georgia Avenue, right across from McGuire Funeral Home. My family had a business there for 10 years. And I'm telling you, Mrs. Huff walked in that office one day, and I didn't know who had just walked in, Jay and Hazel and Rodney, because I didn't know she was just somebody, a customer dealing with. And that woman ended up having me there all night long. Had heard about my graphics and wanted me to create the Kennedy King souvenir book. And I'm telling you, my sisters went on home. They had to go. They couldn't stay all night like I did. And I kept thinking I was going to leave a couple hours later, but it was daylight when I finally got out of there the next day.
Oh, my goodness.
Just like Jay said.
Oh, my goodness.
She won't quit. She won't leave it alone. So that was my introduction there's so many more stories that I wanted to tell the listeners. What a strong, powerful woman she was, and she didn't take no for an answer.
You know, that is so true. And along that line, I'm reminded that every person who wanted to run for mayor in D.C. came and sought her advice and guidance before they announced. Mayor Barry, Mayor Gray, Mayor Fenty, and her friend, Mayor Bowser. All of them came to 12th Street. Was that 12th Street, Jay?
Remember Sharon Pratt. Don't forget Mayor Sharon Pratt.
That's her friend, Mayor Sharon Pratt. All of them came and asked her for guidance and support and help when they were thinking about running for mayor. That's like you said, Jay. That's a dynamic woman.
Indeed, true indeed, man. Very loved.
She was a Ward 5 committee woman. I remember when she got elected. Go ahead and talk some more, Jay.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to add, she was a woman loved and respected by many. I mean, I couldn't begin to tell you guys countless amounts of times where this woman would just not stop. She would keep going and going. And, you guys knew her a little bit before I did. I was born in 86. And I'm so proud of her. I'm proud I can take this information and knowledge and the strength that she instilled in me, out in the world and, touch somebody else and let them know how important certain things are. I mean, she opened my mind and my world to a lot of different things, and I'm just highly appreciated.
And so, Jay, you weren't even born when she came up to my office around 1984, 1985-ish. It was somewhere around that. Right. Can you believe her? She didn't know me from Adam, but she had heard about my work and thought, okay, she just came in and started talking, and next thing you know, I started helping her, and the next thing you know, I was able to help Mrs. Huff all the way through the years. She continued to come to me for projects that she needed. Hazel, let's get you back on and give your closing comments.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to mention, tomorrow will be a community celebration. We're celebrating the legacy of Mrs. Huff, but as well as the unveiling of her portrait and, of course, the renaming of the library. And so we invite people, not just in the Lamont Riggs Library services, Biggs Park, North Michigan Park, Brookland, just any number of neighborhoods that surrounded it, both in Wards 4 and 5. And so we're inviting everybody to come out tomorrow at 1:30 to celebrate, as you said, this phenomenal woman who was relentless, absolutely relentless in getting that rebuilt, and also providing not only the funding, but the resources to make it. She knew the librarians by name, and she tracked what was going on in the library every week. So she was an outstanding person, and we really should honor her and her legacy.
And Rodney, give people the address where they should come tomorrow. So you give your closing comments.
Sure. It's 5401 South Dakota Avenue Northeast. As Hazel said, it may be in the Lamont Reese community, but it's more like a regional library that serves South Manor Park, Fort Totten communities, North Michigan Park, Queens Chapel, and other communities as well. It's a phenomenal building. It really is a very, very nice building with, 100 people serving community room, 7 or 8 individual and group study rooms. It has a balcony and a first floor patio. It's just an amazing building and a really good tribute to Mrs. Huff's hard work.
And I just want to say this committee has worked for 3 years. Working every month, starting with Miss Gloria Hightower, and then we had you, Rodney, and Frank Wiles, and we have a strong committee that has been working with us, Hazel Thomas and Linda Jefferson and Vivian Wiles, and I can't even name everybody because I didn't come prepared, but I want to thank the committee. We'll all be there in our blue tomorrow. I'm on the committee, you all, out there listening. We'll be out there looking good wearing our blue. and we invite you to come out and join us.
And Lyndia, thank you for all that you've done as a really good and faithful, long-time committee member.
Yes, indeed. Thank you again, Ms. Lyndia Grant.
Yes, give your closing, Jay, and then we're going to move on and get ready to close. We still got a couple of minutes.
I just wanted to say real quick, myself being a product of Lamont Riggs, to anybody out there listening who lives in the community, utilize the library. If you can only imagine if it wasn't there, think about what you would do if it wasn't there. When I lived with my grandmother, I would walk up there and not knowing how magnitude, how of a big ordeal this thing was. So tomorrow, if you're free, come out, have a good time with us, learn a little bit about who the woman was. And if you have kids or if you just live in the community, walk up to the library, learn some things, utilize the books and the activities there. We'll have more activities coming soon in her honor. So I'm just proud, and hopefully everybody can enjoy the library for what it's worth.
All right, and to the Huff family, Diane and Denisha and all the grandchildren, we love you, and we are looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you all for being my guest today on the Lyndia Grant Show. We'll see you there tomorrow.
Thank you so very much.
All right.
Bye.
Good day, you all. All right, so subscribe to our YouTube channel, listeners. Like us on Facebook and read the Religion Corner in the Washington Informer newspaper. This week I did a tribute to Committeewoman Hazel Thomas. If you pick up the Washington Informer, you will learn some things about Ward 5 Committeewoman Hazel Thomas that you didn't know. Truly exciting. All right, next week we're going to have another outstanding show. We hope this show on Lyndia Grant Show has been helpful to you, learning about the Lamont Riggs renaming celebration. And then join us at my church on Sunday at the All Nations Baptist Church, where our pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman. We're located at number 2 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast, Washington, D.C. Look for the church with the red doors. We start at 10 a.m. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.